Hello there, amazing students. All right, so today what we are doing is reviewing slope and y-intercept. So for this 9 weeks, we are literally going to be reviewing everything we learned in the first 9 weeks. So this 9 weeks we have learned volume, we've learned surface area, and we learned scatter plots. Now we're going to take a step back and go over slope and y-intercept really in depth. Okay, so slope, what is slope? And remember, you should be taking notes. So what is the definition of slope? Go look back at those notes. What is the definition of slope? Not how do I find it, but what's the definition? So it measures the steepness of a line. So how steep my line is, right? So this line versus this line, these would have two different slopes, right? This one is more steep. Why is that more steep? Why is this one less steep? Well, if I took the slope of both of these lines, this one should have a higher slope. What letter represented slope? M. And what's the y-intercept? Right? So on a graph, I'm looking at a graph, it's where it crosses the y-axis. So what was that letter? B represented y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b. We know that m represents slope. We know that b represents the y-intercept. If this is not ingrained in your brain, y equals mx plus b, start saying it to yourself every class period, because you are going to be using this for the next probably 3 to 4 weeks is y equals mx plus b. And at this point, you should be an expert. So m represents slope. Does anyone remember those key words for slope in a word problem? What are those key phrases I would use to find slope? Per and each. Right? Per and each. What about for y-intercept? What key phrases would I use for y-intercept? One-time fee. Starting amount, how much you start with. Initial amount, down payment, something that's only going to happen one time. Right? So like if I started the summer with $500 and made $20 each week, my equation would be y equals 20x plus 500, right? Because this is how much I started with. This is how. So the y here would represent the amount of money. Sorry, the announcements came on. Amount of money I made. 20 represents how much I made each week. And so x would represent the weeks, because each week I made $20. $20 per week. So, this was a quick review from last class. Proportional relationships. For something to be proportional, remember the y-intercept equals what? 0. So, for something to be proportional, the y-intercept equals 0. So, in a word problem, if the starting amount is $0, if I start with $0, or not dollars, 0 anything, then that means the y-intercept is 0. So going back to the previous problem, if I started the summer with $0 but made $20 each week, that would be the equation y equals 20x, right? Plus 0, but I'm not going to write the plus 0. This will be a proportional relationship because my starting amount is 0. On a graph, I'm just seeing if the y-intercept is 0, meaning it goes through the origin. And then on a table, I can look at the ratio between y and x, or I can just solve for the y-intercept. So I already went through this, but if you don't have these notes from previous class periods, pause the video and write them down. You have to know that M represents slope, and these are your keywords. You have to know that the y-intercept is represented by the letter B, and that these are the things that would represent the y-intercept. So pause the video if you don't already have these notes. So let's look at some word problems. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at word problems, and we're going to look at graphs and find the slope and y-intercept of all those and write the equation. And we are going to, next class period, look at tables, okay? And then from there, we are literally just going to have an assignment after assignment after assignment on slope and y-intercept. So if you feel confident, then go ahead and pause the video and write the equations for all of these, and then see if you get the right answer once you play the video. Jennifer owns her own beauty shop. To go to Jennifer's beauty shop, you must pay $5 to make an appointment. $5 to make an appointment. Pause. We aren't just going to put 5 and just move on from there. No, we always pause and we label. Let me write my equation. Y equals mx plus b up here. So this $5 to make an appointment, how many times am I going to pay that? Only one time. So this $5 would represent the y-intercept. And then $75 per hour. Per hour. Is there a keyword there? Absolutely, that per hour. So here's my slope. Write an equation. Well, we already have the m and the b labeled, so we already know the equation is y equals 75x plus 5. Remember, pause the video, try them on your own. Hamilton is an avid peach seller. He sells peaches for 55 cents per pound. Per pound. That's a key word for what? The slope. So I know that this 55 cents is talking about slope. So my equation would be y equals 0.55x. What can you tell me about this equation? If you said proportional, you're right. Why is this proportional? Because the y-intercept is 0. So x here would stand for pounds, right? Because 55 cents per pound. And here would represent how much money I spent on the peaches. Joshua is looking to sell his PS5 along with his games. For each game, for each keyword, he will charge $35. And a shipping cost of $2 for each game. Wait a minute, there's 2 eaches. What does that mean? Well, if I'm paying $35 per game and $2 per game, in reality, y equals 35x plus 2x. Aren't I actually paying $37 per game? Absolutely. So my equation here is y equals 37x. All right, let's find our slope and y-intercept. So we're going to look at a couple graphs, and then we're done for today's notes. All right. What is the scale of the graph? When you're looking at a graph, you always want to figure out, well, what is my x-axis going by? What's my y-axis going by? Remember, it's not always going by ones. It might be going by 2s, 3s, 5s, 50s, 100s. You have to pay attention to what each tick mark is worth on the graph. What's the y-intercept? Remember, this is where the graph crosses the y-axis. What's the slope? How do I find slope? Rise over run. And once we find those things, we have our equation. But remember, we also want to know, is the slope positive or negative? What does a positive slope look like? Increases from left to right. What does a negative slope look like? Decreases from left to right. Okay, so here we would have a positive slope. Here we would have a negative slope. So let's look at our first example. First question is, what's the scale? What is each tick mark worth? Well, here it's labeled for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, they're going by ones. Next question, what's the y-intercept? If the answer is 0, you are correct. Remember, interact as if I was there in the room. So my y-intercept is 0. Is my slope positive or negative? Well, this line, if I'm reading from left to right, this line is increasing, ascending, going up from left to right. So I know my slope is positive. And let's find the slope. Remember, I have to find 2 points on my line. Here's a point here. Here's a point here. Here's a point here. I'm just showing you all the points you could use. So my rise over run. Remember, guys, when I do rise over run, I'm staying on these lines that they give me. So I'm rising until I get to the next point and running until I get to the next point. So it's going by 1, so I can just count my bunny hops. 1, 2, rising 2, running 1, 2, 3. So my rise over run is 2 over 3. And remember, I always want you to write rise over run. So I have my M, I have my B, and I need to write my equation. So it should be y equals 2/3 x. Perfect. Let's look at another graph. Try pausing, taking a screenshot, and finding the slope and y-intercept yourself. So y equals mx plus b. So first thing is, what's the scale? What is it going by? Well, the x-axis, this is going by 2's. But the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, is going by 1's. So x-axis is going by 2's. Y-axis is going by 1's. So I need to keep that in mind when I do that rise over run. All right, what's the y-intercept? Pause the video, answer the question. So the y-intercept, that's where it crosses the y-axis, and that's why you need to know what your y-axis is -2. So b equals -2. Negative, right, because it's below the origin. All right, now I need to find my slope. Is it positive or negative? Well, this line is increasing from left to right, so positive. So it's my rise over run. Find another point on your line. I'm just going to use these random 2 points right here. Rise over run. Now, before you start counting bunny hops, remember, you have to think, what is it going by? I'm rising. My rise, my y-axis is going by 1. So I'm rising 1, 2. But my x-axis is going by 2. So I'm running 2, 4. So my slope is 2 over 4, which reduces into 1/2. So what's my equation? Y equals mx plus b. Y equals 1/2 x minus 2. All right, 2 more examples, and then we're done. Again, please pause the video and do it yourself. Take a screenshot of the graph, annotate it in your pictures, find the slope and y-intercept yourself, and check the answer with the video. Do the most, guys. Trust me, you don't want to just watch these videos and not really be paying attention, okay? Because a lot of assignments for the next couple weeks is going to be over this. So, first, what's the scale? Well, the x-axis is going by what? 5s, that's what you answered. The y-axis is going by what? 2s. Alright, what's the y-intercept? Crosses the y-axis at 2. So b equals 2. What's my slope? I know my slope is negative because it's decreasing from left to right. Find 2 points on your line. And notice I'm only choosing points that are on the cross sections. I'm not choosing random places on my line. So my rise over run, what's my y-axis going by? 2. So when I'm rising, 2, 4. How much am I running? 5. So my rise over run is negative 4 over 5. So my equation, y equals negative 4/5 x plus 2. Oh, that was the last one. All right, guys, have a great day.